Switch, how to change. Switch, how to change things when change is hard. Part 1. Introduction. The paradox of the stale popcorn. Welcome back to the channel. Let's start with a question. Why is change so incredibly difficult? We've all been there, setting a New Year's resolution to hit the gym, only to find ourselves back on the couch 3 weeks later. We often blame ourselves, thinking we lack willpower or that we're just naturally lazy. But what if I told you that most of our failures to change have nothing to do with our character and everything to do with how we understand the human mind? In their masterpiece, Switch, brothers Chip and Dan Heath introduce us to a cruel but brilliant experiment involving popcorn. Researchers gave moviegoers free buckets of popcorn that was 5 days old. It was stale, cold, and so rubbery that it literally squeaked when people chewed it. One group got a medium-sized bucket, and the other got a jumbo-sized bucket. The results were mind-blowing. Even though the popcorn tasted terrible, the people with the large buckets ate 53% more than those with the medium ones. Why? Not because they were hungrier, but simply because the bucket was bigger. This reveals the core paradox of change. What looks like a person problem is often a situation problem. To change behavior, you don't necessarily need to change the person. You need to change the environment. Today, we are breaking down the 3-part framework to mastering any switch in your life. Part 2. The core model: the rider, the elephant, and the path. To drive successful change, the authors argue that you must influence 3 distinct forces. Think of it as a rider sitting atop a massive elephant traveling along a winding path. A. Direct the rider. The rational mind. The rider represents our conscious, analytical side. He is the one who plans, calculates, and looks into the future. However, the rider has a fatal weakness. He tends to overanalyze. When the rider doesn't know exactly which way to go, he leads us into analysis paralysis, where we think so much that we never actually move. The solution? Find the bright spots. Instead of obsessing over, why is everything going wrong, the rider needs to ask, what is working right now and how can we do more of it? The Jerry Sternin story. In 1990, Jerry Sternin was tasked with solving malnutrition in Vietnam. Instead of writing a massive report on poverty or water quality, factors he couldn't change, he looked for bright spots. He found very poor mothers whose children were healthy. He discovered they were adding tiny shrimps and crabs from rice fields and sweet potato greens to their rice. These were simple, local solutions. By focusing on these bright spots, Sternin transformed the health of entire villages. B. Motivate the elephant, the emotional mind. The elephant is our emotional, instinctive side. It provides the energy and the drive. But the elephant is lazy and seeks instant gratification. If the rider and the elephant disagree, the elephant wins every time. Why? Because the elephant weighs 6 tons and the rider is just one small person holding the reins. The solution: find the feeling. Knowing a fact isn't enough to move a 6-ton beast. You have to make the elephant feel it. The mountain of gloves. John Stegner wanted his company to stop wasting money on work gloves. Instead of showing a boring PowerPoint presentation, he collected all 424 different types of gloves the company was buying and dumped them in a massive, messy pile on the executive boardroom table. The sight of that mountain of waste was a shock to the system. The executives didn't just see the data, they felt the absurdity. Change happened immediately. C. Shape the path, the environment. The path is the external situation. Sometimes change fails not because of the person, but because the road is too difficult or the directions are too vague. The solution? Script the critical moves. Don't give vague goals like eat healthier. That confuses the rider. Instead, give specific instructions. Next time you're at the store, buy 1% milk instead of whole milk. When the path is clear, the elephant doesn't get lost, and the rider doesn't get overwhelmed. Part 3. Shocking psychological secrets. One of the most profound insights in Switch is the concept of willpower exhaustion. We often think we can just force ourselves to change through grit. But psychology tells a different story. Think about the radish and cookie experiment mentioned by the authors. One group of participants was allowed to eat fresh chocolate chip cookies, while the other group was forced to eat raw radishes while the room smelled like cookies. Afterward, both groups were given a near impossible puzzle to solve. The cookie eaters worked on the puzzle for 19 minutes. The radish eaters, they gave up in less than 8 minutes. The lesson. Self-control is a depletable resource. It's like a phone battery that drains throughout the day. This leads to a massive realization for anyone trying to change. What looks like laziness is often exhaustion. When we try to change too many things at once, or when we force ourselves to do things we hate, we drain our battery. By the time we need to make a tough decision, we have nothing left. This is why simplifying the environment, shaping the path, is so vital. It saves your willpower for the moments that truly matter. Part 4. Detailed evaluation. Why this framework works. What makes the Switch framework so legendary is its versatility. Unlike many self-help books that focus only on mindset or discipline, Chip and Dan Heath provide a holistic diagnostic tool. The value of the framework. It allows you to look at any failure, whether it's a failed diet, a struggling business, or a team that won't cooperate, and ask 3 specific questions. 1. Is the rider confused? Do they lack clear step-by-step instructions? 2. Is the elephant unmotivated? Have I failed to create an emotional connection to the goal? 3. Is the path too difficult? Is the environment making the old habit easier than the new one? This book shifts the narrative from shame to strategy. It teaches us that we are not broken. We just haven't aligned our internal forces. When you align the rider, the elephant, and the path, change doesn't just become possible, it becomes inevitable. It is a masterpiece of practical psychology that turns the daunting task of transformation into a manageable process. Part 5. Conclusion. Find your bright spot today. Switch is a book that changes how you see the world. It teaches us that while evil or bad habits can evolve, the light of clear direction and emotional resonance can always overcome them. You don't need a miracle to change your life. You just need to stop fighting your own nature and start working with it. If you are struggling with a change right now, my challenge to you is this. Stop looking at the mountain of problems. Instead, find one bright spot in your life, one small thing that is already going well, and figure out how to replicate it. Thank you for joining me for this deep dive into one of the most important books on human behavior ever written. If you found these insights helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We explore the world's most powerful books to help you master your mind and your life. What is the one switch you are going to make today? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Until next time, keep your rider focused, your elephant motivated, and your path clear. Goodbye.